Thokozani. I am Pabadimu and I welcome you to my channel, and thank you so much for choosing to view my video. Well, on today's video, I'll be talking about the plights that we need to look out for, especially when faced with a calling, because I think these are things that we don't necessarily look at, that there are certain things that are there and are sometimes beyond our control. But as a people, we also sometimes need to think, use our minds on some situation and not just be gullible because we are sick, or rather because we think we are sick, and end up finding ourselves in situations that we necessarily can't get ourselves out of. So there are certain situations where you find that you are young and you have a calling, especially ende uhlala ekhaya. When you encounter such situations, it tends to be a problem, especially when your parents are the ones that are saying that you cannot utwase, or you can't do these things because bona they've never practiced them, or they will rather say ayikho lento lekhaya. As a young person or whoever you are, it tends to be kind of contradicting, and sometimes it's not even about being a young person, but there's certain constraints that are there and you cannot reach that level, or rather go that extent where you want to go. Because sometimes I feel as people we need to be realistic, and sometimes apply logic to certain things that happen around us. We want to understand the calling, or rather we want to feel ubizo, but are not necessarily prepared, because when you look around you, the situation is not enabling. Ufuna ukuyothwasa manje, but you know that there won't be any funds that are going to assist you uma usephehlweni, because aliko iphehlo la mahala. Two, ufuna ukuyothwasa and you know the situation at home, everyone is Christian, and now you're dependent and have nothing at a certain extent. Because I always say someone that is conflicted or affected by ubizo lifikile, everything in your life stands at a standstill. Kunengulo yedlozi, and there is a life crisis. So sometimes I feel good to maybe people tend to confuse the two, and sometimes out of laziness we opt for the easier ways and say good to know it's in your twasa, maybe life will be okay. That is not necessarily a guaranteed, because umuhamba uyothwasa usukuyolashwa of the sickness, or rather ingulo esuke ikuphethe ngokwedlozi. So these are certain things that we need to be, or rather look out for, especially if you're going to be embarking on any or rather kind of spiritual journey. But now, my concern is, in this day and age, we feel so pressured by the society or all these things that are going on around us. You go and you just always say, when someone is going to tell you that you're going to die of because of a calling, that person is lying to you. No one has ever died. Sometimes we need to look at the situation of they don't necessarily have the means, but you blackmailing them and telling them if I'll manje, because in most cases people that tell you that are people that are saying to you waza uzotwasa kimi, and eating ukusize at that particular time. And do not fall for certain traps, especially scams. Labo kuthiwa ufike endumbeni yomuntu, you went for a consultation and ebese awusaphumi because you said something or something was picked up from your consultation. Because I say, go to sometimes as abo gobela, they need to also have some level of maturity. You can't take someone else because that alone is kidnapping someone. You can't keep someone without their approval or the knowledge of their family. It is a different thing, but as ugobela, you let the family know. But you cannot be keeping it twasa where else ekaya kunezimpi and they are disapproving of their calling. Loyo mntwana loyo niyomhlomelaphi indumba umesephumile ephehlweni, or noma niyomphahlisa kwesiphi isibongo angaphahlelanga ekhaya. But because of greed and desperation, you end up uthwasa, and nayo gobela because of greed uyakuthwasisa kwenzise zonke lezi zinto lezi, and you end up finding yourself that life does not actually work out uma usuqedile ukuthwasa. There's a lot of things that I can speak about that are plights that are there that we need to look out for, because at the end of the day, you cannot say ungenile pehlweni and you are not dreaming, or you're not getting any sense of inclination from madlozi. Either the problem is ekhaya or the problem ikugobe lakho, because I always say izinto before umntwana azongena ephehlweni ziyahlelwa kuqala before, because you avoiding because kusebenza idlozi. So now if idlozi has not approved of that, how is it going to work? Because I know certain people, or rather most people, fall scam of this because bonga poopy, and someone comes to you and say they want you good uzuzo twasa kuye, etc. Like, oh gosh, the scams people fall for. I was like doing some grocery shopping the other day, and so this guy was just standing there, and in my mind I'm like, oh shit, this person is gonna annoy me, and I'm like, I could just tell that the energies, bruh, and this person just comes up to me and is like, oh, and I'm like, thank you. And I don't like small talk. I'm not a small talk person. As long as I have my mask on, keep it moving. So he's like, uyotwasa nini? I'm like, no, angakatwasi. And he's like, no, but uyotwasa nini? I'm like, angazi angifuni, and he's like, oh awufuni, but mele uhambe uyotwasa. Uyazi ukuthi mele uhambe uye emanzini and wena unomnikati wamanti. And I looked at him and was like, no, angazi. And he's like, so ama-beats lawa afakile, ama-beats wani? Ngithi ama-beats ukuthi ngiyagula, bengu-ICU last year, so bangihlabela imbuzi emnyama ukuthi bashelezisa amadlozi. And he's like, oh, bayenze kahle vele, yiyo indlela ebefuze ukuthi bayihambe, but manje mina into engiyibonayo la ukuthi lesimo lesi siphakamayo somoya esidinga ukuthi silungiswe, uzohamba uhlangabezane ney'nkinga, uthi lo muntu lona uma ngabe ungasukumeli manje lesipho sakho kuzophela umsebenzi, kuphele nomshado, namanje uzothi uzama ukwenza umntana isisu sichitheke. And I was looking at him like, okay. And he's like, so bakwenzelani? Ngithi so bakwisile emanzini. Ngithi no, abangise emva kwendlu. And it's like, but why uba rude kimi? And and ngithi no, but lento ngibuza yona, why ngiyasindwa amaplastiki ubhizi ungixoxisa ngezinto zamadlozi? Don't you think lezi zinto ngitshela zona ngiyazazi? And he's like, no, and he lifts his jersey and he's like, no, angisho nami ngithwasile ngifuna ukukubonisa. So ubuhlalo bani lobi, because ngicala ukuba ngathi ungangibuzi into ongayi-understand, awazi ukuthi ubani, so keep to your business, So then it boiled figure, and I got inside and I was like, phew. But I was like, this is the reality of people, that things they encounter. And umuntu they sense the desperation out of you, bazodlala ngawe, and they will tell you nonsense and you're going to believe it. If uthwasile and really uthobela umthetho weshoba, you know that umuntu awumhloli noma umtshela indaba zakhe out of indumba. Ngamane ngathi ngicela uthatha amafoni number wami noma uzongibona endaweni ethizeni, not ukuthi ungisinda amaplastic wasebox ayeqhitheka amarama and you busy want to tell me the way kwamalambe ngakhona. Like, come on. When have as a people saba salahleka kanje, saba desperate kanje, and saba scammed kanje? And the sad part is that people fall into these traps because of gullibility. When you are gullible, you end up finding yourself a victim of these scams. It is very sad. Excuse me, it is very, very sad, the things that we see that are happening outside, or rather the things that we see people are going through. I will tell you, between you and I, is that you need to be spiritually matured. And that does not come with an overnight thing. But nakhona learn ukuthi nilinde. Because the thing is that nonke nifuna ukuthwasa and inkinga iba sekuthwaseni. What then after ukuthwasa? I always say, with all these people abathwasayo in this day and age, 5 years or 10 years later, baphelelaphi bonke labantu laba, because you'll just hear them, they disappear into thin air. You see, amathwasa everywhere, but then you never see them afterwards. You never see misebenzi afterwards, because what happens is that sometimes it's a premature diagnosis, sometimes kusuke kunganadlozi, because this day and age ukuthwasisa akuseko. Uhamba uyofundisa imithi, uyofundisa ukugida, bakufaka ijumane, ubhodle, and then you come home usuqedile because you were trained to do these things. Then uma usumele ubuye ekhaya uqale intwaso yangempela between wena nedlozi lakho, it doesn't happen because kusuke kungekho lento leyo. As a people, we must learn to wait and be patient. Sometimes kunama situation whereby you find ukuthi abogobela, they kidnap you. They tell you ukuthi you cannot do a certain thing because, or you can't live at that certain place because of if uzohamba lapho you're going to go crazy or ufake manela lapho. How did we get there? Isn't it I came to you for healing? So why are you supposed to hold me captive, or rather keep me prisoner because ngiyagula or because I know less, and tell me ukuthi should you leave that gate ungahamba lana uzohlanya ledumane lizokwenza ihlanya, or etc etc? Because some people bahlala emaphehlweni knowing very well good I wasn't dreaming or anything, but you end up finding yourself in a trap where you're conflicted. How do I go about this? I was told good things zohlanya. Let us stop with the lies, because sifuna abantu bafunda amasiko wethu, but we as abantu abasebenza ngedlozi end up instilling these unnecessary fears emntwini. We need to stop that, because the whole impartation, or rather insebenzo yomuntu ukuthi afake idumane kusuke kuumuntu osuke avuma ukufa. But you cannot just drag someone ephehlweni and then kusasa blackmail them into saying, if you know that you encountering Leo situation or usendaweni and you're not having any connection amadlozi akho, you are able to leave and ucele ukuhamba. If that person is a true healer or ugobela, will allow you to do so. Maybe uzohlawula into ehlawulayo, then you keep it moving, because that is your journey at the end of the day. Mele uhambe unqonqoze iminyango, because angisha nifuna ukulinda kuze uzuthole la uzokwazi ukuthi uthole khona impilo. So you end up being blackmailed, and we get to forget ukuthi umuntu you have a right. You cannot be kept at a place against your will or umumndeni wakho wala. Kunabantwana bathwasisayo underage, you can't make a decision for yourself. Umntana sedelele ekhaya because sekelalela ugo. Like, it is certain things that we need to, as a people, sizicabange nathi uma sihleli and think, but this the healing that they're speaking about, or is this lobusangoma that they're speaking about? Because honestly, you cannot. Even umntana, I watch my 19-year-old daughter hamba yothwasa, uma sengiyombona yothwasa sengimfika eseyisdagwa, and they say ukuthi no, idlozi lakhe lifuna ihansa every day. What nonsense is that? You find ukuthi umntwana is always intoxicated, or they always high, because ayikho lento leyo. We need to stop that. Some people are being kept against their will, and you're afraid to leave because you were blackmailed. What healer can blackmail you into trying to find better for yourself? If uthola umuntu owumzali, because being a gobela means uwumzali. Abantwana abafana, omunye uzongena akudina zama up and down, omunye ahlala, omunye uthi yazi ngicela uhambe uyoshaya umoya ubona izizwe ngaphandle uphinde ubuye futhi, because you never know ingulo zabantu azifani. So that is the whole impartation ebakhona, noma the confusion ebakhona when it comes to izinto ezenzakalayo out here in the streets. If it were up to me, I'd honestly say Uktasa is now overrated, and I wish to a certain extent people could just sit at home and dwell more in their spiritual and harness their gifts, because honestly, this ongoing thing, this repetition of every day, there is an issue, like it gets tiring. It honestly gets tiring, because you find that afterwards, their life is not going anywhere. It's redundant. You even ask yourself, and kusasa sekanethwasa usebenzise nini idlozi lakho? How did you groom? How did you harness your gift? How did you understand it? Because what you are doing is that you are doing what your gobela did to you, and you are doing it to ithwasa lakho. Kanti you need to sit down ukhule, idlozi likunika impande and likhulise. So no, this, I think, it's no longer, I wouldn't even say financial scheme or whatever the case might be, but some people, we need to be isicabang. If you know ukuthi If I honestly say, if uyagula manje, you're having headaches, your life is a mess sometimes, sit down and think, mhlambe nje it's just unyiswa impilo, or other ukuthi kumele uziredirect in life, find your purpose, or rather a depression from all these lockdowns we're experiencing, anxiety and all these things, because people have anxiety, people are depressed, but these days you're being diagnosed unelosi. So where do we draw the line with that? How do we work around that? Or how do we say to as a people that wake up before it's too late, before you find yourself in a trap? I always say kune awakening bese kunobizi ubizwa maselfikile, and trust me, anye kuhamba uyothwasa impilo yakhe mnandi while you can still wake up in the morning, while you can still do this. Uhamba ngisho ungena kwa ini empilweni yakho because udela konke uyothatha ukufa kwakho. So the process of that is never easy thing. And ukugula kwakho kuyimfihlo, uzoze uqede ubuye ekhaya or whatever. Not this nonsense we seeing around here. Amathwasa have Instagram pages, amathwasa have all of these. Ingulo yabantu is being advertised. You know, I just feel to myself, that's why when I think of into ehlangene nokuthwasa noma no, I just look at it like here we go again. Honestly, I feel ukuthi abantu abasathwasisa abogogo dala bahlezi lemakhaya ibo abantu abathwasayo labo, not lento eyenzakala manje. You know, it's always you should think now as a person ukuthi okay fine, what then? Because sometimes nizothatha lezi zinto lezi, nithatha imintuntu nenzeni, nifaka amadzumane emakhanda, kanti nisibuyisele emuva ngokempilo. Ayikho lento lena. Gullibility is always there, even when you go and you've been told you have, like for example, similar cases uneslwane. You know, this is the similar thing that you're being told, because everyone all of a Sunday uneilwane uzothi uneslwane, and you're just experiencing fatigue. You having symptoms, or you're having a fever or something, your shoulders are always, you know, you're feeling fatigued, you just fatigued. But because people are bafuni, yeah, you know what, you always want to blame something or blame someone for your struggles in life, especially as a Black person. Why can't we uplift ourselves? Like I say, secure the spiritual bag and learn independency. Sizoyeka ukudlalwa ngabantu. I always say that. And there is so much to do out here. Like, I always have these stupid encounters. These other day, I encountered this guy, this fool. He was from sometimes I see this guy. He was just he actually should have his own episode on I Blew It, whatever the case might be. But he's some former whatever soccer player, and he was speaking nonsense. Listen, me, I don't have time for nonsense. I watch you and I let you speak your shit, and then I tell you that I don't have time for nonsense. As a people, you must learn that as yourself. Don't allow that to yourself. Busy, F. We all have problems. Can we just stop this? Can we just stop this? Nizohamba nikeziswe ngeenkukhu ezimnyama because you were told ukuthi unesilwane, impilo yakhe ibhede kunakuqala. Before you can even start, yonke into impande yayo isemsamo. If izinto zakini zingahlelekanga kahle emsamo, you will move from pillar to post because uma uyasetshenzwa ngisho you uphahla healing yakho emadlozini wakho. So if kungena balance ku foundation yakho, uyothola kiphi impilo? Nabantu whereby they go bahambe bayothola insebenzo, then they want to go consult komunye umuntu. Is this the right thing that I did? You come to me, Mpho, ngiyazi amhamba uzibani, is this the right thing, or are they doing the right thing to me? Stay in your lane. You were sent there for a purpose. And see how the healing manifests itself in your life, because anina patient and ingulo zabantu asifani, nendlela esisebenza ngazo asifani, but nifuna, I don't know. That's why I say magic does not happen when it comes to izinto zelozi. And I think with this video that I'm doing now, I have said something along these lines along either of any of my videos, but do go down the memory lane and go visit that and hear for yourself what I'm saying, that you know, we do face a lot of things. Ama challenges abakhona. They are being told that do this. End up usungene kangaka enkingeni because this gobela of yours ukutshela ukuthi uma ungangena ephehlweni excuse me, by next week Thursday you're going to die. so uthengisa indlu, so uthengisa imoto, so wenza all of this, uyoslalaphi? Like, let us just sometimes sisebenzise ingqondo as a people and learn to ask questions, and don't also, fall into the traps of thinking, no, this is this person, because ngiyambona they are active on the media streets, and they're having so and so, they're always having initiates, let me just go there. What happens to those initiate after? Is their life kuleyo mpande leyo? Are they living off whatever they have had, or it's just one of those things? Sonke fuze sithwase, it's a twassing groove, it's a twassing ceremony. I don't have time for things that sometimes don't have certain sense behind them, because I sit down and ask a lot of questions, and I think and I look into things to a certain extent, and I think out of the box, being a sangoma, and I sit and analyze. I'm like, but our people sometimes, because of desperation, that is why I went to the mountain last time, and I did say I went to the mountain, and along the route there was this guy that I passed, Bega Peti Sija, an enamel dish and in amanzi, and the water obviously awalapha pants, and he walked all the way up in the mountain, blah blah, carrying that dirty water in his hand. And in my mind, obviously he's going to drink that, and in my mind I'm thinking probably, but say it's something he needs to do, right? Like, let us not be, why should melesi and be animals to survive in this lifetime, or noma sibe nempilo engcono? We are so desperate for ama breakthroughs lawa that we end up going through such extreme lengths. Like, I don't want abantu abamnyama bahlupheke kanje. It pains me that extent. Ni end up senphuza imikhamoya because you think you want to achieve the utmost level of inhlanhla, or ufuna inhlanhla engaka. You can buy zonke iwasho ugeze ngazo, but when there's no alignment kwimpande yakho as a person, who you are, your root, it will not surface. It will not, you cannot manifest inhlanhla yomuntu ngento ephathekayo, yinto osukunayo. You just need alignment, and to do izinto that are going to work in your favor, because inhlanhla will work once things are aligned empilweni yakho. Then you'll see your doors opening. So sometimes the struggles, the pains that people go through, they sometimes leave me, this sometimes, because I see our people, and I see desperation, and I see struggle, and I see poverty. Phakathi emijondo lemikhukhwini, you find abomama bagaxe bihlalo ngapha nangapha, bathi banamadlozi kuphi umuntu uphethwe yinyawo. Kanti sometimes you just have a heart condition, sometimes uphethwe yi-diabetes, that is why niphathwa yinyawo nani. But because we don't want to attend to our health, everything inobuthakathi ngaphakathi, everything inedlozi ngaphakathi, is kule population engaka la South Africa, are you telling me that only 5% will not be izangoma? The rest abo moy my yo like, it is tiring. Honestly, between you and I, it is tiring. But amadlozi, they not abewangalwelanga ukuthi sizoba yiduphunga kanje, sizoba yi-stupid kanje. No man, as a people, let us wake up, but let us do something and move forward for ourselves. And esizifunda ukuzimela, ningangena endumbeni and allow someone to bully you just because usendumbeni yakhe. Get there, ugcwaliseke emoyeni wakho, know what you came there for, and etc. And there's so much, man. But I just feel that I think I've shared so much right now that at least ninompagonyana for the rest of these couple of days. But let us sometimes be logic. Let us sometimes look at things, understand. You could say sometimes you want all these things to be aligned, but what about the root cause? Usendaweni right, indaba yakini ihlelekile kahle msam. What are your ancestors saying? What are your ancestors saying about you before you can embark on any of these things? Because ezinye, it's just the creme on top. So this was another my rosy and insightful video, and thank you so much for popping by. I am Pabadimu, the advocate of Ilozi, and thank you so much for choosing to watch my video. Do continue to like, subscribe, and do leave your comments below. Don't allow yourselves to be gullible. The times we are living in, it's survival of the smartest, not the fittest. You need to be smart to survive the spiritual things, because manje, ave kudlaliwe ngabantu. But anyway, thank you so much for coming through. Thokozani.